Quiet the world for a moment and look inward. The mind, when left unattended, becomes crowded, filled with noise, comparisons, regrets, and endless desires. Freedom of the mind does not come from gaining more, but from gently releasing what no longer serves you. There are habits we carry daily, often without awareness, that quietly imprison our thoughts. When these habits are abandoned, clarity naturally arises, like the sun breaking through morning mist. One habit that binds the mind is constant attachment to thoughts. Not every thought deserves your belief. Thoughts arise and pass, just like clouds in the sky. Yet many people cling to them as absolute truth, replaying worries, fears, and imagined futures. When you learn to observe thoughts without chasing them, the mind begins to rest. Peace is not found by controlling the mind, but by understanding that you are not the mind itself. Another habit that disturbs inner freedom is living in regret or anticipation. The past no longer exists, and the future has not yet arrived. Still, many suffer by repeatedly visiting places that offer no refuge. When attention leaves the present moment, suffering quietly enters. Freedom begins when you fully inhabit this moment, breathing, listening, being. In the present, there is no anxiety, no guilt, only life unfolding as it is. Comparison is another silent chain. Measuring your path against another's creates dissatisfaction. Even when you are progressing, every being walks a unique journey shaped by different causes and conditions. When comparison is released, gratitude takes its place. A peaceful mind does not ask, "Why not me?" It gently asks, "What is needed now?" The habit of craving constant pleasure also enslaves the mind. Seeking happiness through possessions, praise, or status creates endless hunger. Satisfaction gained this way is brief, and its absence brings restlessness. True contentment grows from simplicity. When desires are fewer, the heart feels lighter. When expectations soften, joy becomes easier to notice. Holding on to anger is another burden many mistake for strength. Anger burns first the one who carries it. It clouds perception and tightens the heart. Letting go does not mean forgetting or approving harm. It means choosing peace over poison. When anger is released, compassion naturally arises, for others and for yourself. Many minds suffer because of resistance to change. Everything that arises will pass: joy, pain, success, loss. Fighting this truth creates tension. Accepting impermanence brings freedom. When change is welcomed instead of feared, life flows more gently. The mind no longer clings, and the heart learns to trust the rhythm of existence. Another habit to abandon is harsh self-judgment. Speaking to yourself with cruelty does not create growth, it creates fear. A calm mind is nurtured through patience and kindness. Just as a tree grows without force, transformation happens when you allow yourself to learn without condemnation. Finally, release the habit of constant distraction. Silence is not empty, it is full of wisdom. When you sit quietly, even briefly, the mind begins to settle. In stillness, insight arises naturally. You do not need to search far for peace. It has always been present beneath the noise. Freedom of the mind is not a destination but a practice. Each habit released is a step toward clarity. Each moment of awareness is a return home. Walk gently, breathe deeply, and let go again and again. In doing so, the mind becomes light, and life reveals its quiet beauty. Observe thoughts without clinging, recognize they arise and pass naturally, allowing the mind to rest. The mind is a remarkable instrument, capable of imagining, planning, remembering, and creating. Yet, left unchecked, it becomes a restless wanderer, endlessly chasing thoughts that arise and pass like clouds drifting across the sky. Many people mistake every thought for truth, every worry for reality, and every imagined scenario for necessity. This constant clinging creates stress, anxiety, and a sense of being trapped within one's own consciousness. True freedom begins when one learns to release attachment to thoughts, understanding that thoughts themselves are impermanent, and that we are not defined by them. Observing the mind is the first step. It is not about controlling or suppressing thoughts, but about noticing them as they appear. When a worry about the future arises, one can acknowledge it gently. There is this thought, and it is passing. When memories of the past surface, one can observe without judgment. This is a memory, and it is not the present moment. By cultivating this awareness, the mind slowly begins to realize that it is not the thoughts themselves that cause suffering, but the resistance and attachment to them. People cling to thoughts, treating them as reality, and this attachment creates tension. The mind tightens around the past, fears the future, and refuses to rest in the present. When one simply watches the thoughts without holding on, they naturally begin to lose their grip. It is important to understand that thoughts are fleeting. Just as clouds move across the sky, so do our ideas, worries, and emotions. Some clouds are dark and heavy, casting shadows over our inner landscape. Others are light and drifting, barely noticed. Neither is permanent, and neither should define the entire sky. Yet human beings often cling to certain thoughts, replaying them endlessly, amplifying their importance. One may find themselves repeatedly thinking about mistakes, failures, or imagined catastrophes. This is like grasping at a shadow, hoping it will stay. The energy spent on clinging to these thoughts could instead be directed toward clarity, presence, and calm. Releasing attachment does not mean ignoring problems or living without reflection. It means recognizing the difference between productive thinking and unproductive rumination. Productive thinking allows one to plan, learn, and grow. Rumination, by contrast, keeps the mind in a loop of worry and fear. By practicing observation without judgment, a person learns to distinguish between helpful and unhelpful thoughts. This distinction is crucial because it prevents the mind from being dominated by fear, regret, or desire. Each thought is treated as a visitor. It may arrive, it may linger, but ultimately it leaves. By not clinging, the mind becomes lighter, clearer, and more capable of responding wisely to life's circumstances. Daily practice strengthens this skill. Simple acts, such as sitting quietly for a few minutes each day, observing the breath or noticing thoughts as they arise, cultivate detachment. One may silently acknowledge, "Here is a thought, I notice it, it is passing." With repetition, the mind learns that it does not need to chase every thought, nor does it need to judge itself for having them. There is freedom in knowing that while thoughts are natural and inevitable, they are not the master of one's inner life. As attachment loosens, a profound sense of peace emerges. The mind, no longer bound by its own compulsions, becomes a space of clarity and openness. Decisions are made with greater wisdom, emotions are experienced without overwhelming turbulence, and the present moment is appreciated more fully. This is not a sudden or forced change, but a gradual, gentle unfolding. Each time a thought is released, even briefly, the mind tastes freedom. Each time awareness replaces clinging, a layer of tension falls away. Ultimately, releasing attachment to thoughts is a lifelong practice, but one that transforms the very nature of experience. It is not about emptying the mind or denying reality. It is about recognizing the impermanence of all things within consciousness and cultivating a gentle, watchful awareness. In this awareness, the mind becomes like a calm lake. Reflections appear on its surface, but the water itself remains undisturbed. The freedom found here is not dependent on external circumstances, for it is rooted within. It is the freedom of simply being, moment by moment, unbound by the illusions and weights of thought. Live in the present moment. Let go of regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. Cultivate awareness and presence in the now. Abandon comparison and craving. Stop measuring yourself against others and seeking constant pleasure from external sources. Embrace simplicity and gratitude. Let go of anger and harsh self-judgment. Releasing anger and practicing self-kindness frees the heart, creating space for compassion and inner peace. Embrace stillness and impermanence. Accept change, reduce distractions, and spend time in quiet reflection. True freedom arises through mindfulness and letting go.